Hey, listeners, and welcome to the You Are Epic podcast. This is where we honor the people who've helped build not just our industry, but our communities. I'm Angela Hucker, and I am so glad that you're here. So, I'm taking the time to sit down with people who've been in construction for years, people who've been through the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You're going to hear real stories of resilience, growth, and moments that shaped who they are. This podcast is for those that want to learn more from people who've been walking this path for some time, and they're helping to lift up others and quietly making a difference along the way. It's also to show you that your journey matters and your voice matters. And in case you've forgotten, you are epic. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Harry Nguyen, CEO of Northwind Quantity Surveyors and a property development advisor with nearly 3 decades of experience in construction cost consulting and project management. From his early years in Vietnam to building a career in Australia, Harry's journey has been defined by resilience, vision, and a passion for helping others create wealth through smart property development. Through Northwind, Harry specialises in tax depreciation, cost consulting, and project advisory, guiding investors and developers to maximise returns while building stronger, more sustainable communities. So, thank you so much for joining us, Harry. It's an honour to have you here.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me. I'm
You're,
happy and honored to be here too.
you're most welcome. You're most welcome. So, one thing I always like to do with our guests is because I'm a very curious person, and you've been in the industry a long time. But what I love to ask is, how did you get started?
Yeah. Well, th thanks for asking. Look, I'll try to make it as short as possible. Angela, I wanted to share with you at my early years, and I was born in the 70s, and we all heard of the Vietnam War.
Mm,
So I was born during the Vietnam War. And so I see the destruction
mm,
of the country, of communities, of families, and of lives, as well
mm,
as buildings around me. And when the war was over in 75, my father was taken away. I have a member of the family that was killed during the war. So the energy, and it was chaos,
mm,
during that time. And when finally, in the early 80s, when my father was released out of prison, what they call re-educated camp, where he was tortured and go through a lot. He was lucky to be alive. And during that year, I grew up without a father. And
mm,
my mother barely survived. We were pretty much this close to poverty, and she had to, without her husband, she had to work 3, 4 jobs to pretty much survive.
mm,
And I was bullied at school and in the neighborhood. But when he was released, he quickly organized to get escaped from the communist regime,
mm,
which is the communists at that time. And we, all of us, and I was only 9 years old, we went into this tiny little boat, Angela, and we escaped into the sea, risking our lives because there were hundreds and thousands that were lost their lives in sea at the time. You would have heard in the 70s and 80s, there's boat people that
mm,
were lost in the sea. And we came to this tiny, after a few days in the sea, we came to this a refugee camp in Malaysia in this tiny little island. And we were living in this little hut which shared with, like 10 other families, really, for months and months and months. And finally, because my parents were educated, he chose Australia to be our second home. And there was uh, a very kind family, and his name, it was Bernard Thomas. He later became my adopted grandfather,
Mm.
and he sponsored our family across and to Australia. And we were living in Frankston after the hostel. And I remember that he drove us out to this little unit, and it had everything in there, although it's not brand new. It had a little black and white TV and the beds, my bed, my brother's bed. It had a little fridge. And I remember he opened the door and he said to my mom and dad, this is going to be your home,
Mm.
and my mom and dad was in tears,
Mm.
at the kindness that he had organized for us to, as a second chance
Mm.
to live our lives here and reside in Australia. What's funny is that when I was in the refugee camp, I started drawing. I love coloring, and I was drawing, and what I found out is I was drawing buildings, and I was
Wow.
coloring buildings because, you know, um, our home was destroyed, and I saw buildings was collapsed. So subconsciously, I want to get into building.
Mm.
But then it's a funny thing is Grandpa Thomas was a builder and a developer.
Wow.
I know, what a coincidence.
Wow.
And he was driving me as a little boy, he was driving me around and he says, I built this building and I developed that. I was a builder here and there. And of course, these things, they water seeds in
Yeah.
my subconsciousness. So I started at a very young age. I sort of knew what I wanted to become, and I wanted to be in the building and construction industry. On one side, I see that everything was destroyed.
Mm.
Here's the new opportunity, the new life, a second chance for me to build something.
Mm.
Uh, and I knew that when I finished high school, I want to study construction, um, and be in that building construction industry. I wanted to not just be involved in building, but I want to build communities. I want to
Mm.
build homes, and for people. And my father was a maths teacher, so when I come home with a B plus, he wasn't very happy. He expected me to get an A or an A plus. So numbers flow naturally
Yeah.
for me. And during universities and even in my the first few jobs that I do, um, I tend to steer towards numbers, and with my skills and my talent in numbers, I want to make that not just numbers, but meaningful data
Yeah.
that would help developers, investors, and stakeholders to thrive in whatever that they're doing, so that
Mm.
everybody could win. So after nearly, what, 27, 28 years, nearly 3 decades of in the industry, I think that it's success is just not just about numbers. It's more than numbers.
Mm.
It's relationship building,
Mm.
it's leadership, it's trust, and also it's serving, it's contribution that makes us be successful and have a sense of purpose in this
Mm.
industry. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a really touching story about, where you've come from to where you are now. So when you came to Australia and then you were starting out, you've obviously, you're coming from a migrant background. What sort of barriers did you face in that regards?
A lot, Angela. Well, first of all, my parents, they had to earn a living. So they had to do whatever the jobs that they were. given to them, and they have to put ends meet, put food on the table. Uh, so that was tough for them, but at the same time that we were somewhat neglected. They
Mm.
were working more than one job, long hours. We were pretty much on our own device. So that's quite challenging. And the other thing is that the language barrier. Um, on one hand, they wanted us to maintain our mother tongue language, which is
Mm.
the like speaking Vietnamese at home, read a lot of Vietnamese and things like that. So in a way, there was a language barrier, and you can hear that I have an accent, and I find it in my early years, I found it hard to communicate and
Mm.
even make friends, really. So there's that social restrictions or limitations, and for a young boy, it was really tough to
Mm.
try to fit in. Uh, on top of that, Angela, I was a very small boy, and so an easy target for bullying. So I got bullied at school since primary school right up to high school, and even at the workplace,
Mm.
being a very quiet boy who doesn't, and our culture was taught that we can never speak up,
Mm.
and everything was inside here and here. Once you keep all of that story inside of you,
Mm.
and when people are telling me that I'm stupid, that I couldn't communicate, that I don't understand schoolwork, some kids were not just verbally abused, but they physically abused me too. I got kicked, hit, punched. They were told me that I'm stupid, that I don't belong here. Go back to your country. Even though I said that my country was destroyed, that I
Mm.
don't have a home. So all of that, after a while, I had a wrong perception about me, that I thought that I was not good, that I had developed this limiting belief that I was stupid and not good,
Mm.
that I'm not likable, that I'm not loved, both at school and also at home, because my parents is always busy. Yeah,
Mm.
so there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah. Yes. So how did that impact your life with, having those internalized thoughts that you've had going on and, having a career and in another country and trying to survive, and what kind of impact did that have for you?
Yeah, it it wasn't good, Angela. It had a negative impact me, and I kept that for a long time, to a point that I believe that I was about year 8 or year 9, that I was bullied so bad that I didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't want to turn up, because I'm just going to get abused and bullied. Um, it it got to a point that enough is enough, and there was and I think I told my father about it. So and he put me on to do some martial arts, to get
Oh.
self-defense. But it wasn't just about self-defense, it was about confidence, and it's about finding my true self, that I'm more than who I think I am. And all those abuse sort of condition my limiting belief.
Mm.
and and so it was at a teenager a period where I can see that I do have friends, that I'm quite smart at what I do, and even with maths as a subject, I I can I can answer a lot of questions that the teachers were asking. and I got hit with that being called a smart aleck at playtime. But
Gosh.
I think there was a point that enough is enough, and uh, I confronted somebody who was bullied me as a boy. I was in the boys' school, and I said, "Look, enough is enough. I had enough," and I start fighting back. And it
Mm.
was the first time that I stood up for myself and I pushed back. And I, I gave him a punch and gave him a blood nose. And since then, we became best mates because I stood and I apologized after that, and he was much bigger and stronger. But then because I stood up for myself, I go, oh my God, I couldn't believe that I could able to do that, Angela.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was playing a victim for a very, very long time.
Mm.
So I think that was a breakthrough for me. It was a change. Then I start to believe in myself more. I focus on my strength and 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 I start to confidently socialize and connect with people. Um, and that's where it was a change point of my life.
Mm.
And it had a slowly a snowball effect of my life. I can become one of the best student of the school, for maths, and then went on to universities and got accepted to the best universities and doing construction management, a course that I I really want to learn and to serve in the building industry.
And not that we condone physical violence by any means,
No.
but I think it's more about the point of calling it out and
Yeah,
calling out those behaviors and what that can do, because a lot of people that I see, they don't realize the impact of what they're doing and how it's harming someone else because they just get away with it and it's never been called out.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
your example is like a testament that when you do actually call it out, it kind of can stop someone in their tracks and change what they're doing and how they're treating you, but also change how you are as well as an individual.
I think so. I think we've got to have the courage. And if we don't have the courage within ourselves, then we need to seek support from outside. But these are the things that we need to speak up, because otherwise it will get into the pattern of repeating itself. And it's not just for us, it's for other people that they get to bully other people too.
So for someone who, maybe in the same situation as what you were in, and if you think back to that time that you've just shared and, a bit younger and, not as wise as what you are now, what kind of advice could you give them to say if they're in that situation and they're dealing with that, what could they do? How could they navigate that?
Hmm. That's a good question. I've got four children, and sometimes they face challenges at school or at work and so forth. I think that um, I always teach my children to believe in themselves
Mm,
and be brave, be courage.
mm,
As you know that um, we've got to have the right mindset.
mm.
That psychology is very important.
Oh, yeah.
That I tell my kids that they are loved all the time, that they
Mm,
are special. So, these are the things that I don't get a lot of attention from my parents.
mm,
And I think that my kids deserve to be told that, and I dedicated my time, even with business and everything, with communities,
mm.
I still dedicated my time for them and to tell them that they are special, and it really helps with their mindset and their psychology.
Mm.
But if they are facing the difficulties, then they always speak out and they tell us, and it's important to provide that kind of support, or for that
Mm.
person to seek support to, if they don't have the, to the courage to say so, to
Mm.
get support, to speak out and get support
Mm.
for the people who have the skills, the knowledge to help them, to reinforce them, to um, to call out these
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
So when you touched on that support, and I think support is really vital for this industry, it's something that
Mm.
is a little bit lacking. What kind of support would you like to see for this industry and for people who might be in that situation of dealing with these sorts of issues as well? What would that look like?
I think that, as a quantity surveyor and a project manager, I'm um, I get a balance of office works, office based, and also on site
Mm.
as well. And I can tell you based on my experiences that, it can be equally challenging.
Mm.
There's office politics, there's, we're just dealing with people, the
Yeah.
people coming from different backgrounds and
Yeah.
values and things like that. And their struggle for power, their insecurity, their, whatever it is. So office can be also challenging, and that's why I step out of the corporate world and, created my own path and start my own on my own company. And I learned from that, and I'm not going to continue that kind of pattern. And I
Mm.
created a culture for my staff and my team here. And so it's it's safe, so that
Mm.
they can grow and develop and thrive. You know, at in the on site, and I've worked on site. I've worked for builders on large projects, and
Mm.
got bullied there as well. But and it can be a challenge. They look, humans, we have the realities. We have a very discriminative kind of mind. We
Mm.
expected people to be the same as us, to think like us, to look like us, to sound like us, and if they're not,
Right.
then we kind of put them down, or we bully them in a lot of ways. You've been there, Angela, so. I think, and when I experience something like that, I would go to, within the team, my supervisor or my boss or my manager, or the directors. And but I must say that in my early years, I was bullied in the office, but I didn't wanted to speak out. I didn't want to confront, because it's difficult, because I was scared that I would lose my job, and that affects my finance and my income, or I get a bad referee,
Mm.
on my CV. So there's a lot of fears and a lot of concerns. But in my later years, I I'd speak up, and sometimes it doesn't work, then I go a little bit further, I speak out to my colleague, to ask extra help, and if not, then I go past the organizations,
Mm.
perhaps friends or mentors or senior people in other organizations, or
Mm.
even institutions, for help. But I'm sure that there are government bodies out there
Mm.
that we could potentially, if they are there, then it can be quite helpful.
Mm.
Because I'm sure that I've been in the industry for nearly 30 years. In my early years, I experienced that, but I'm sure that at this instant right now in today's age, there's that kind of thing that's going around, and people are too afraid to speak up, or there's not enough support
Mm.
there. So it is very needed.
And I think that's a really important point that you're touching on is that fear of speaking up. And that comes back to you said the word before, which was really stood out, which is the culture. It comes down to the culture.
Yes.
And, like obviously when there's bullying happening, that creates a very unhealthy culture within a business. You've got your own business now. What type of, and so you get to set the tone because you can do what you like as the boss and the owner. What kind of culture do you have in your business that you'd like other companies to adopt as well?
Mm. Great question. I think for me, being successful after nearly 30 years in the industry, I think in everything, um, you got to have the right mindset. You got to have the right psychology. And for me, there's the human factor.
Mm,
And I always ask myself, what's the purpose? What's my intention of doing this? We start with the end in mind, Angela. And I'm very thankful for this universe, this life, this country to give me and my family a second chance.
mm,
So it's about giving back. So it's about serving. It's a sense of purpose. It's about contribution.
mm.
And this intention is really important. It comes from the heart, that we lead with the heart. We lead
Yeah,
with kindness and compassion. And I think that for my journey, especially, love always wins,
yeah,
you know. Um, you know, we all know that the how we measure success is how we contribute, and we can contribute in a number of ways,
yeah.
not just finance, but kind acts. What I call is kind words.
Mm,
So the culture, and I think that leadership is very important. We
mm,
need great leaders, and not leaders with power just to tell people what to do, but lead with heart, lead with compassion,
mm,
inspire people. Here we have our values is we call loving speech and deep listening, the ability to listen to others,
mm,
um, and say words that uplifting and inspire others,
mm.
because words can be damaging as well.
Yeah,
So, and to be a good leader, for me, it starts with me.
yes.
No matter how all the skills and the knowledge and the certificates, and I've got a lot of certificates, and I attended so many seminars and courses and things like that. But all of that strategies, all of that skill set, yes, it's important. But I think that if we start with ourselves,
Mm,
like to know who we really are, to respect ourselves, to listen to ourselves, and to identify what kind of pattern or habits are we having, and is it serving, or is it dragging us down? And if they're not serving, just learn to let go,
mm,
and to what kind of language or story that we're telling ourselves, are they limiting beliefs?
mm,
And by recognizing that, so what's the intention? How do we replace that pattern? How do we replace that habits
mm.
that they can serve us and the people that we love? So when you start with ourselves, we can spread that kindness
Yeah.
onto the immediate people, which is our family.
Mm,
A lot of people focus on business and success, and they forget the family. And it's,
mm,
our spouse and our children, that's why what we do, is
mm.
for them. But with some along the way, we forget that.
Yeah.
and then it's spread out from the families to our friends and our communities, colleagues at work, you know. These are all learning opportunities.
Mm,
And I know it's sometimes it can be challenging. It's challenging at home and challenging at work. But we can play the victim or we can coming from a place of learning, learning and what can I learn from that and how can I do it better? Um, and I think that by practicing that, I wanted to create a culture in my business. And it's not just the colleagues here, Angela, it's the
mm,
clients that we deal with.
correct.
It's all
Yep.
the project team, the stakeholders, the
Mm,
clients, the architects, the builders. Everywhere we go, we can maintain that kind of
mm,
intention, that energy, and we connect with people. Once we have that development, that trust, that relationship, it can really go far.
mm.
Mm.
How different do you think this industry would be if more leaders embrace that approach?
It huge, huge. It will be an ideal world, I guess.
Yeah.
But we must not lose hope, I think. Even if we're just a drop of water, it
Mm,
can create a ripple.
correct.
I think it's infectious and we can influence the next person that we deal with. And and for me, I have strong faith and trust because I'm a quantity surveyor. I'm a scientific person. I test things out,
Mm,
and when I learn from my shortcomings and my mistakes. If a certain reaction or certain approach doesn't work out well, then I test it again. Maybe I, I test maybe this way or that way, and then if it works well, then I adopt that. It's about
mm,
utilizing the new patterns as we learn.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And so
yeah,
when you think, and thank you for sharing that, that's awesome because I think this is a space where there needs to be a lot more work as well with that human approach to how leaders are coming at things and actually coming more from a heart-centered space rather than, thinking that they've got all the degrees in the universe and then that makes them qualified. But really it doesn't because if you can't look after your people, no piece of paper is going to qualify you to do that. That's something that you have to have within you as well. So,
yeah. And Angela, that I wanted to say a couple of more things as we talk about, leadership and how we can have an impact on our world and our industry
mm,
is that proximity is power, right?
it is.
How are we surrounded by ourselves? What kind of people? Because it has the capacity to bring us down or can be
Mhm,
uplifting.
mm,
So be around with like-minded people is really important.
mm,
So I choose very careful of who I'm associating with. And Angela, you're one of them.
thank you.
I wanted to make that point. And the other point is that we become what we consume.
Mm,
And
true.
I'm not just talking about food. I
No, no,
mean,
no.
yes, well, there's a lot of things that we take in,
Oh, yes.
a lot of toxic things like drugs and alcohols and a lot of that, and it destroy our body, right? But if it destroy our body, it destroy our mind. But I'm talking more than just the food that we consume through
Mm,
our mouth. It's it's the conversations. It's the
mm,
story that we're telling ourselves. It's are they wholesome or are they damaging?
mm,
Or now everybody's got the smartphone and the things on social media and the internet, we've got to be careful what we're taking into our mind and our heart,
Mm.
because whatever that we consume, we kind of become that. As you and I, we grew up, and when we were kids, there's no smartphones.
No.
But now our children's addicted to that,
Yeah.
and there's the suicidal rate is increasing,
Mm.
and there's depressions and all of that. So we've got to. I was taught that in every crisis there's opportunities, and I think that the people are starting to see that, and they're making a change.
Mm.
Yeah,
And I think the thing is because, we're very blessed, we both have the same mentor. And,
yeah,
we've been told stand guard at the door of your mind because if you're not standing guard at your mind, you're allowing rubbish to come in and rubbish comes in, rubbish
mm,
will come out. So,
sure, absolutely.
yeah. So when you think back on your career, Harry, what's like a real standout proud moment that you've got that sticks out in your mind that you've got a very a very long career, almost 3 decades, and you've worked for people, you've been on site, you've been in the office, you've got your own business, even with your stuff, of being a migrant coming from Vietnam and stuff. What's a
Mm.
really proud standout moment for you when you think back?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a few moments that I'm proud of. And I think that, when I was in the workforce working for some large organizations, I think that, and we live and learn, right? Not perfect, but um, it's the it's the skills that I have with numbers,
Hmm.
um, and the people skills.
Yes.
People skills is very important. Being taught to respecting other people
Mm,
is very important, because a lot of people they have these complexes that they're superiority complexes. They're more better and more smarter and more stronger on other
mm,
people. And for the long run, they don't they always struggle for power, but they have a lot of issues. So I think and they're working for companies with the focus, with the mindfulness, and the meditation skills that I develop. I'm more focused on whatever I'm doing, and usually the outcome is really good.
mm,
That I can use that kind of skills and experience to serve. To
mm,
I find that there's a number of large projects that I was working on. The client was very pleased, and my manager was very pleased, and I got promoted very quickly, because I was treated as more of a calm, respectful,
mm.
easy to get along with,
Yeah.
and very focused and concentrated on what I'm doing, and the result, speaks for itself. When I started the other thing is, when I started the business, I had a lot of people think I was crazy, including my parents, my friends, my colleagues, even my ex-manager was saying that, oh, I give you 3 months and you'll be calling back and asking for a job. Who do you think you are, starting a quantity surveying business? You don't know anything. You don't know anybody. You don't know what it takes to start a business. You don't have any business skills. And everywhere that I knock on, people turn me away. They don't want to do business with me. But there was a point that it was quite stressful, because I quit my job,
Mm,
and we had our first son, and we have a mortgage, and we've got to put food on the table.
mm,
And we're just so close to giving up, Angela. And I thought that was that moment I had the rejection from a client that on a proposal that I worked so long. I just, all these voices that started to come through,
mm,
and I said, maybe I'm not good. And it's all these voices that come back since I was 9 or 10 years old. All these boys who
mm,
were calling me stupid, and maybe I'm stupid, maybe I'm not good, maybe I'm, I'm not cut out to start my business, and all of that. And I was just feeling all the tears starting to well in my eyes, and I was just go, oh my God, what am I doing? You know, but then something came over me and I said, and then I changed my story, I changed my voice, and I changed my language. And I said, Harry, you've gone through the worst in your life. You don't take no for an answer. You will find a ways to make it work, and you're gonna push it. Don't give up. You're gonna just
mm,
push it, and you'll be successful. And
mm,
I overcome that challenges in that first few months that I didn't get any payments and things like that. I had to borrow money from my parents to feed my child and pay the mortgage. But 21 years fast forward, we've done amazing projects.
mm,
We're working on the expert panels for leading banks of Australia. They're referring
mm,
us to oversee projects, and we got onto expert panels. We get to know leading developers done work for the big boys like Lend-Lease and so forth, and got onto the expert panels for the government. We were giving advice for government projects. We
nice.
made I helped clients make millions of dollars, and it was just what an achievement, you
Yeah.
know. We're gonna pat ourselves in the back. We're gonna
Yep.
celebrate all our wins. So those are the proud moments, Angela. Thanks for asking.
No, and that's awesome. And thank you for sharing because I think that's a true test of when you think you can't do it, keep
Mm,
going
yes.
because you actually can, but it's just finding another way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's a real testament to resilience as well.
Yes. Yes.
Resilience and just, keep going, keep going. Yes, you're at rock bottom. Yes, but and getting this right, getting the mindset right to actually go, those stories don't count anymore. Like I
Mm,
can do it because I've overcome stuff before and I can overcome it again.
yes.
So
And
thank you for,
surrounded yourself with people who in the similar mindset and support you and believe in you as well.
yeah,
And
yeah. And that's part of what you said earlier as well is about, that proximity is power and, what's coming into your environment and how are you controlling that environment and are you protecting your mind and, making
mm,
sure there's not trash around you to keep you low and keep you small and not be able to help you move forward in the direction that you want to go.
yes, yes, agree.
So for people who are listening to this and if we go back to that leadership piece as well, what do you think is a three key things that leaders need to start doing moving forward?
Mm, great question. I think, first of all, understand your why.
Mm,
Understand why you do what you do, why you're in business, or why you do what you do, and have a sense of purpose. And that is really few that drive you.
yeah.
That is food. That is inspiration, aspirations, and so that is really important. And be mindful, be present uh, every moment.
Mm,
And as you said before, be the guard of your mind. Know where you are and what you are doing. And another thing would be proximity. So be careful to choose your circle wisely, because it has the capacity to lift you or pull you down. And always learning, always learning and contributing. I
Mm,
think serving and contribution is a very key
huge,
aspect of who
huge.
we are as human.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if we look at you then, Harry, what's your purpose? What's your why? Why do you do what you do? Why are you a quantity surveyor and do the work that you do?
Thank you. Look, I've got skills in numbers, that's for sure, and I want to use that skills um, to manage the risk to make it more meaningful for my clients, and finding these hidden costs and ways to maximize their profits and for wealth so that my clients can be successful, um, and to live a better life,
Mm,
a life that they deserve, and have their contribution into the community and into this beautiful planet that we're in
mm,
humanity.
mm,
And and for me, it's, as I said, it's all about people, it's about trust.
mm,
So by having that leadership skills
mm,
in for who I am have an impact on to my colleagues, my families, my friends,
mm.
my communities, um, my clients, and beyond. And I think that's my purpose.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for sharing that. So, in closing, what I'd love to ask you is one final question
Yeah.
is if you think about perhaps the best way would be think about someone who might be in your shoes right now, not as a business owner, but from someone years ago of what you faced. And if you could pass on some words of wisdom to them from I'll call them Harry's words of wisdom that could help someone who might be in a situation that you've been through, what would those words of wisdom be?
Mm. My words of wisdom will be that you are special, you are powerful, and you are a manifestation of love, a creation of love, and you get a chance to live in this life once. So make the
Mm,
most of it. You
yeah.
deserve to be joy with happiness and success, and 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 spread that love out to the world,
Mm,
because you've got all that love, boundless love, unlimited love,
mm,
that you inherited from this planet, from your parents and your grandparents and the people that surrounded you. So you're not limited. You're bigger than all of that.
mm.
And start living. Mm. And
That's
start with
beautiful.
that positive mindset.
Absolutely.
And if you ever doubt yourself, then reach out to the people and ask them what they think of
Yeah,
you. And they tell you that you're wonderful.
that's it.
And get that affirmation, I guess. Practice on affirmations. What do we call, Angela? Incantation.
In
Incantation.
incantations.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
incantations.
Yes,
Change your physiology,
that's it.
celebrate your win,
Exactly.
and speak out loud. Change your story. And, once you change that environment, you change your physiology, get out of that story that you trap in your head. Once you change your physiology, you change your story, you change your language,
Hmm.
and then the strategy will be changed as well. Then you know what to do and you know
And
what not to do.
if you can do that, then you can change your life. And you're an example of that with what you did to stand up to that bully.
Yeah,
So
that's
thank
right.
you so much, Harry, for sharing your story. It truly brought, I mean, I've heard your story before, but it definitely brought a tear to my eye hearing it again.
Mm.
Thank you for being the heart-centered leader that you are and coming from a place that's just beautiful and, coming from that kindness and compassion and leading with love rather than, ego and arrogance and superiority. So you are a rare gem in the industry, and I'm very blessed to know you. And thank you so much for the words of wisdom that you've shared as well. Really grateful to have you.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me. And you are a very special person, and you got so much to give, and so many people benefits from your work. And we're blessed to have you on this planet, in this industry. And keep doing the good work. And I'm here as your friend, and whenever you need me, I'm here for you. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Harry. Vice versa.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope this conversation gave you something that you can take with you, whether it be a little bit of insight, inspiration, or maybe just a reminder that you're not alone. If it resonated with you, please share because we're better when we help build each other up. And remember that your experience, your story, and your journey, it all matters more than you know. Until next time, stay kind, stay connected, and never forget you are epic.